Initially, you have to look out for brokers that are making it seem as if you have to act quickly or are pressuring you to take action. That's usually a pretty good indication that they have fraudulent intent because there's almost nothing in the investment world that is so last minute that you have to act right away or you'll lose out. And don't fall for a tactic where they say you have to open this right now or you'll miss out on something. Chances are you're better off walking away from that person. But when you open the account, brokers will invariably have to understand what your investment objectives and risk tolerance are. That's called suitability. They need to determine what investments are suitable for you in order to make recommendations where the risk of the product they're selling you is consistent with your risk tolerance, investment objectives, station in life, all of the things that go into understanding you as a customer. Now, if you start seeing investment recommendations that you think are more risky than what you've indicated you're comfortable with, that would be a red flag to say to the broker, why are you making recommendations for things that have more risk than I'm willing to take? And if that continues, you're probably better off getting a different broker. On the other hand, there are times when people can be too conservative. If you're younger and you have a longer time frame to invest, over time, the stock market outperforms fixed income. So while there may be more volatility on a day-to-day basis, over the long term, it may make sense for somebody who's years from retirement to have a larger percentage of their funds in the stock market. If you see that the market is going up, and I've had numerous instances where people will say, I saw that the market was going up on TV, or I saw that the market had dropped, and I called my broker, and it turned out that their portfolio was down to a much greater extent than they would have thought. Well, that's a pretty good indication that you're in more risky investments than you thought you were. It may work to your advantage in a rising market, but it's not going to help you if the market drops and your account drops more than the market has. So in that instance, you want to reach out to somebody who can assess your portfolio and let you know whether or not there's been wrongdoing. Oftentimes, brokers will look to trade your account, particularly if it's a commission-based account, because the more trades they do, the more commissions they make. It's a process called churning, where they churn your portfolio in order to generate fees. So if you see a lot of activity, especially activity that you have not authorized, that would be a very bad indication, and you should reach out for help and understand why those transactions are being done. You want to look at your monthly account statements, and you want to look at the activity, specifically what trades were done for that month. You should recognize those purchases and sales because you should have authorized them in advance. If you didn't, that's called unauthorized trading. And a broker is prohibited from exercising that kind of discretion without your written authorization. I often say brokers never do one unauthorized trade. You'll see them in patterns, and they'll do it for lots of reasons. Sometimes it's to generate commissions. Sometimes, believe it or not, they're compelled by wanting to be the person that made you a lot of money. I've handled situations where we've had to settle numerous cases with customers where a broker thought he'd be a hero and recommended some risky stock across his customer base, and they all lost money. And the broker just wanted to be the guy who picked the next winner and made you a lot of money. So watch out for things that you did not authorize. When a broker calls you to solicit a purchase, ask him what the risk factors are and whether it's consistent with your investment objectives. Now, you may have a circumstance where you're generally a conservative or moderate investor, but for whatever reason, you have some extra money and you say, look, I'd like to take some risk. I'd like to see if I can make some money more aggressively. You can do that. The broker is supposed to record that in the record of your suitability and make a recommendation for that portion of the portfolio that fits that objective. So if you see investments that you have not authorized or previously discussed with the broker, that's a red flag. The other red flag are things that you just don't understand. If you see things in your portfolio that you've never heard of and don't know what it is, it's a pretty good indication that that's been done without your knowledge or authorization. That would be a time to ask questions. If you have questions regarding the activity in your account or whether something is a red flag that is worthy of further review, you can reach out to a securities attorney like myself. I offer free consultations. My number is 561 544 8144.